massive speculation surrounding why Bo Hines left the White House recently. But now that he's out of the White House, it looks as though he's able to finally say what he thinks. And it sounds like we finally have confirmation when America is going to buy Bitcoin. So pay close attention to what he says in this clip.
Like the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve has been signed into law through executive order. There's some infrastructure that's required in order to get things set up properly. And so I'm still very confident that the US government is going to be keenly interested on moving expeditiously on budget neutral ways to accumulate. So I'd tell people just to, keep their eyes and ears open for that news that eventually I'm sure will come. But Patrick's working on that, as I can imagine. The last time that we've been truly able to speak on digital asset issues was the day before I left, but I'm very confident in his abilities to perform and deliver for the industry. And look, the president obviously has been a steadfast leader in the space. He's made it vehemently clear that this is a major priority for him. And that includes the SBR. And then we also have the Digital Assets National Stockpile as well, which I think was really just our attempt to give credence to the other ecosystems and what's being built over there. We want to welcome innovation here in the US, and we want to make sure those other ecosystems continue to thrive and grow. But we'll see. And I certainly you could hang around and love to be a part of all of it. But I felt as if it's always good to bring a new set of eyeballs in every once in a while, have a fresh, clean look. I'd been in the weeds of this for over 8 months, and I'm super proud of everything we've accomplished and super thankful for the president and David for their support and their push through all of it. But, we have market structure on the horizon now. So I'll be, watching diligently, just like many of you, to see how this unfolds. But I'm confident they'll be able to bring that home as well. And you'll have 2 monumental pieces of crypto legislation signed into law this year, firmly cementing the United States' place as the crypto capital of the world.
Interesting, Nico.
What an answer. What an answer, dude.
So it does seem now that he's at
Tether. I'm a big fan of Bo. I'm a big fan
as we were saying, great name. Real Chad there. Young, seems to be on the ball. Love to see it. But though, let's just talk about the general conversation before we kind of break down what the Bitcoin Act is, Nico. Upon my first listen, I was like, I don't know. It is. You could say it is a little wishy-washy. It could be this take like he really doesn't know, but then he finishes the clip very strong. He's like, this is coming 2025. And if that happens, I don't know. I think it's on to the races here. That would fundamentally be a game changer. And remember the strategy that Bo Hines has been kind of laying out for us for a long time. He's like, first, we needed kind of some market regulatory clarity. We got that. They delivered on that. And now I think this is the 1-2 punch here, where they needed the regulatory clarity, the as they've been saying for a while, the clear rules of the road. And then the final kind of big kahuna here, the final big knockout punch would be if they pass this Bitcoin Act. So I do want to talk about just a general statement here, Nico, and then we'll kind of break down again, remind everyone, a refresher of what the Bitcoin Act will actually do.
Yeah. So, look, again, Bo Hines was driving, he was really put in charge of the so-called crypto initiative by the White House. And the wording there is very interesting, right? The wording is, the United States has the intention of acquiring Bitcoin in a budget neutral way. Then Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent went on CNBC. No, I think it was actually Fox Business. And he was being interviewed, and he basically saying, oh, no, we actually don't have any intention of buying any more Bitcoin. And then he got so much backlash that he went on X and he said, he kind of backtracked and he said, actually, we do have the intention of acquiring Bitcoin in a budget neutral way. And I think that's an indication of how much influence the Bitcoin donor class has in DC these days. You see legacy media articles talking about that as if it's like a negative thing. It's like as if every other industry doesn't do the exact same thing. And what I've been telling you guys for over a year now is that if you're not in the room, you're not in the deal. And January 20th of 2025, we got in the room. We are in the room. The fact that the executive branch is so pro Bitcoin is fantastic. And Bo Hines, the reason that these words, that clip holds so much weight is he was working inside of the administration. And it was only until a couple weeks ago, about a month or so ago, that he decided to resign for, we don't know the reasons as to why, but it seemed like a very friendly resignation. Howard Lutnick was like, we appreciate the work that Bo Hines does. He has a very bright future. He said very bright things about the administration. He continues to do so. And he joined Tether very, very quickly. Now, Tether has a very close relationship with the U.S. government and the Trump administration as well. About a couple months ago, we had President Donald Trump name the CEO of Tether, Paulo, in the White House, and Paulo, stood up in his chair. He was sitting in the front row of that press conference, and Trump pointed to him. And the reason for that is simple. We played a clip of Preston Pish talking about this, but stable coins are fantastic for the U.S. government, for the U.S. dollar. It propagates the dollar around the world. Also, Tether is in the top 10. I think it's number 7. I don't know the exact number, but one of the largest treasury buyers in the world. So the reason the Genius Act was signed so quickly, with so much enthusiasm, with so much bipartisan support, is because stablecoins essentially continue to allow the U.S. government to kick the can down the road, right? That's the enthusiasm. So again, just to kind of weave it back in and put the pieces together, you have Bo Hines, who was in charge of the acquiring Bitcoin initiative inside the executive branch, that now joined the private sector, joined Tether, one of the most profitable, if not the most profitable company in the world by employee. And he can say things now that he's not part of the administration. I remember some of the interviews that he was doing. He was very, what's the appropriate word? He was very, he was watching what he was saying. He couldn't say things outright. And that's because he was inside the administration. Now that he's outside of the administration, he's allowed to say his opinion. And his opinion, he's making it abundantly clear. He thinks that there's going to be pro-Bitcoin legislation that's going to be signed into office by the end of 2025. The language there was very clear, and this is someone who was an insider. And another thing that I'll say is there's kind of like a civil war going on. I was actually watching it on CNBC this morning. I saw Elizabeth Warren kind of flaying around and talking about the Fed's so-called independence. Now that you have President Trump putting pressure on Fed Governor Cook to step down for so-called mortgage fraud, it seems like they do have the receipts. So if the Trump administration has the receipts and the DOJ has the receipts, that Fed governor is not going to be able to resist that type of political pressure, and she's going to have to step down. If she steps down, that gives Trump a majority in the Fed, and if Trump has a majority in the Fed, that allows him to finally lower interest rates. And I believe a lot of the priced action that has been happening this year in Bitcoin. And let's be frank and let's be honest here, everybody. At the beginning of the year, the day of Trump's inauguration, it was full of hope and happiness. And me and Opti were bouncing off the walls, or our live stream numbers are hitting all-time highs. And the price of Bitcoin was sitting at 109,000. 109,000. That was January 20th of 2025. We're currently August 27th of 2025. So basically 8 months later, on the verge of 9 months later, and the price has gone up 2K.
30%. And
it fell down to 76K. So I, as a Bitcoiner, perhaps I'm a little bit spoiled because of, previous cycles, and, Bitcoin's market cap was a lot smaller, so it was a lot easier to move in price terms. But, I'm not the only one saying this, right? British HODL is saying this as well. We are not in a bull market. But the moment that an announcement gets made that the U.S. government has acquired Bitcoin, or the moment that an announcement is made that that essentially, just parts the ocean, so to speak, you're just going to see the price jump up just on the news alone. You have so many institutions buying Bitcoin. You have the UAE, I think, investing, I don't know what the exact number was, a significant amount of
700
money.
million.
700 million into Bitcoin. So now you have institutions, you have nation states, you have BlackRock gobbling up all the supply. MicroStrategy owns 3% of the total Bitcoin supply. So yeah, I mean, what could be happening, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to talk a little bit about this more, Opti. I'm going to pass it on to you because I know you have another piece of news, is you know, the OG whales that bought Bitcoin, because this apparently is the reasoning. This is what Willy Woo's talking about. This is what our boy Checkmatey is talking about. Vijay Boyapati, he's talking about this as well. Their reasoning as to why the Bitcoin price has not gone up is because you have these OG whales that bought Bitcoin under $100, under $10. They're up, you know, thousands of % on their return, and they're selling tens of thousands, 20,000, 80,000 Bitcoin on the spot market, and that's putting down the sell pressure. Well, I got news for you. You can only do that one time. Eventually, you run out of Bitcoin to sell, and then the price, there's no more willing sellers at this price, and that's why the price goes up. Right? So, you know, to take the more optimistic side, because we are here with Opti, right? If you look at it from a glass half full, so to speak, and you are to believe those reasons, and you're not to believe the paper Bitcoin reason, the more nihilistic reasons, yeah, I mean, you're watching the greatest monetization event in human history, because those OGs that bought that Bitcoin at such small prices are now selling it to millions upon millions of individuals, institutions, governments. Hopefully, most of that Bitcoin, I know that's not the case, but hopefully at least a percentage, at least 30 or 40% of that Bitcoin is being gobbled up by individuals that are buying it spot and are putting it into self-custody. So that's incredible insider information by an ex-member of the administration who is specifically in charge of buying Bitcoin, dropping the sauce on what he believes is going to happen heading into the most explosive part of the Bitcoin bull market, which is the year after the halving. Q4 of the year after the halving, historically, that's when the mania happens. Now, we're all kind of biting our nails, seeing to see if history is going to repeat itself. But so far, the cycle has not broken. So far, this historical cycle has not broken. So we're heading into uncharted territory. And I think the good news and the bad news, Opti, and I'll end it with this because I've been on a soapbox for quite a long time now, is if we don't get a pump at the end of the year, if we don't get a mania, if we don't get some type of parabola, I don't think we're going to have 80 to 70 to 60% corrections anymore. Because to have 80 to 60 to 70% corrections, what needs to happen is you need to have a mania phase. You need to have a euphoria phase. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been living through this entire year and I haven't felt euphoric at all. It's been a bunch of teases. It's been a bunch of like, oh, getting excited, and then nothing happens. So until you get that euphoria phase, you don't get that 50, 60% correction. So as a whole, as a business owner, you know, working in the Bitcoin industry, that'd be fantastic for us because you don't get a 50, 60% correction. But simultaneously, as a Bitcoin holder, it's like, dude, wait a second. Is Bitcoin becoming the S&P? Is it just going to do this small, this like crab, 10% up, consolidate, 10% up, consolidate? You know, is that going to be the case? I was watching an episode, shout out Danny Knows with what Bitcoin did, where he did an interview with Willy Woo, and Willy Woo was basically like, look, it takes 10 times more capital for Bitcoin to move at a, you know, $2 trillion market cap that it took Bitcoin to move when it was sitting at a $200 billion market cap. And that is 100% true. That is 100% correct. Willy Woo is on the dot there, right? So anyways, just to unpack a lot of things that were on my mind, but I'm a big fan of Bo. We need more Bo. The Bo is fantastic. Opti.
Great American name there, Bo Hines. Yeah, well, I do want to take like a flip side of what you're saying, because we have seen a lot of selling. I don't know if we literally can't cover all the coins that are being moved to the exchange every single day, because you guys would probably get bored about that. But I just saw another tranche of coins hit the exchange this morning from like a 2012 holder. So like a lot of the OGs are, you could say, they're selling, you know, they're basically locking in their profits, they're increasing their livelihood here. But the real bullish angle of that, Nico, is the fact that Bitcoin hasn't really dropped, and it's able to basically assimilate this many coins hitting the market, and we're still doing really well considering the price. Like, we haven't gone under 100K yet. Bitcoin, dumped, you know, did a measly negative 10% drop, and we are all freaking out. Back in the day, a negative 10% drop was just like a day-to-day event here in Bitcoin. And now we're seeing that the numbers are increasing by a lot. It's hundreds of thousands of coins that are being hit, that are hitting the exchange. And you can make the case. I've made the case on the show for a lot of different reasons. Whether that is, as Nico's been kind of hitting on, they're rolling into Bitcoin Treasury stocks, or they are trying to do like their last ditch effort to get lower prices on the coin, because they know there's going to be an infinite bid from sovereigns, institutions, nation states, or sorry, sovereign wealth funds, institutions, nation states, etc. It is a very interesting time, and that's just like the price stuff. But I did want to bring up one other thing, because it wasn't just Bo Hines saying that this is coming. We did also last week at the Wyoming Blockchain Summit, literally days before Jackson Hole Fed meeting, Senator Lummis said the same thing. We will have market structure done this year. So we're getting multiple data points that this is probably where things are headed, that by the end of the year, hopefully, maybe this is what will essentially cancel the 2026 bear market that we all think will eventually come. And if it is a slow grind, 2026 is going to probably be continuation of a slow grind, which I'm all for. Anyways, let's go and do a little rehash of what is in the Bitcoin Act, just so you guys know exactly maybe what will potentially be on the horizon. And of course, here I'm on page 4. The first part is kind of just like, you know, covering terms and what's going on here. But the main part is probably here, and this is 18 pages. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But page 4, we have section 4, establishment of the strategic Bitcoin reserve, which happened. You know, the secretary shall establish a decentralized network of secure Bitcoin storage facilities distributed across the U.S., collectively to be known as the strategic Bitcoin reserve, for the cold storage of government Bitcoin holdings. Purpose, basically, they shall be used for the generation, safekeeping, and management of Bitcoin private keys associated with the Bitcoin holdings. The secretary will be responsible for this. In general, the secretary shall ensure that the facilities of the SBR are geographically dispersed throughout the U.S. to minimize the risk of simultaneous compromise and to enhance the resilience of the SBR. And then on page 7 is where, if this happens, is where things start to get crazy. Or rather, here, we'll go page 6 first. Of course, upon the market capitalization assessment, upon the expiration of the 5-year holding period, again, they're going to hold this for minimum 5 years. And then this is where it starts to getting crazy. If they do pass this year, then that unlimited bid to the Bitcoin floor will have been activated. And David Bailey's been saying this on his Twitter. I'm guessing he has a little more insight. I don't know if you guys saw, but they just did a 5 billion ATM at the market offering for Nakamoto. So another 5 billion coming in. It's no longer just Saylor out here. And I'm going to talk about this a little later in the culture, because Financial Times, the Fiat Times is really, really dunking on the Bitcoin Treasury Companies, which is starting to make me feel extremely bullish. But anyways, the Bitcoin purchase program in general, the secretary shall establish a Bitcoin purchase program which shall purchase 200,000 Bitcoins per year over a 5-year period for a total acquisition of 1 million Bitcoin. So this is where it starts getting incredibly bullish here. Now, you could say this is bearish. You could say, hey, we don't want the U.S. government to hold that much Bitcoin. But again, Bitcoin's for enemies. We really can't stop them from doing what they want to do here. But if we do see a 200K bid of Bitcoin every year for 5 years from now, who knows what that does to the price? And then that's only one nation. The dominoes will fall very, very fast. And as we've seen around the world in the recent weeks, nation states are acquiring Bitcoin. So if this does pass, And there seems to be a lot of optimism that it is going to pass potentially this year, end of year. Dude, we got a 200K a year bid on buying Bitcoin. That would soak up all of the coin we've seen currently coming from the OG selling. This thing could rip like this. If that happens and then other nations start following, guys, I don't know about you, but that's the infinite floor bid there.
Yeah, I mean, I completely
The eternal
agree.
bid. The eternal bid.
The eternal bid, bro. We should put that on the ticker and just have it on the bottom. But no, I fundamentally agree with you, Opti. I mean, I think the part to me where it's a little bit, you know, I guess patience is a virtue, right? Is you're seeing all this fantastic news, right? You're seeing all this Bitcoin being bought. But you don't see the price action reflecting that. Ron P in the chat says a long-standing Bitcoin whale identified as a younger person, as a 12-year-old wallet, a 12-year-old wallet that originally held 5,000 BTC has transferred 500 BTC to Binance today, yet still retains approximately 3,500 BTC. So yeah, I mean, but like think about it, gals and bros. If you're buying Bitcoin, for $10 or $100 or $1,000 and you have 3,500 Bitcoin or 5,000 Bitcoin and you want to sell 500 of those Bitcoin, that's $50 million to upgrade your lifestyle. Like, I don't blame you, dude. You know, like, I don't blame you. I understand. But what I'm trying to say is, like, look, eventually that Bitcoin's going to run out because they can only sell that Bitcoin once, right? And then eventually, you know, you're gonna start to see a supply shock. Like I'm still waiting for that. Like there is no, if you take Knut Svanholm's meme of infinity divided by 21 million, I mean, this is simple math. Like, this isn't rocket science, bro. Like, it's very easy to understand where this is going. Now, I think the question on everybody's mind is, are the cycles still a thing? Are we going to have a correction in 2026? You know, Willy Woo was talking about the business cycle. There was going to be a gnarly correction in 2026. Are we going to see that? Are we going to see a blow off top? Are we going to see a mania phase? Are we going to see a parabola phase? Did we already hit the top? Was 125 the top? And I think that's what's on everybody's minds. But the exciting part is we're going to find out in the next 3 or 4 months. We're going to find out. It's going to become very obvious to everybody. Anyways, guys, if you guys are enjoying the show so far, we did just break 10,000 subscribers on Rumble. Air horn, Opti, please. Smash that like button wherever you guys are watching it. Shout out to the X audience. Shout out to the YouTube audience. 600 of you guys watching live on YouTube. 1,200 of you guys watching live on X. And about 70 of you guys watching live on Rumble. So if you guys are enjoying today's show, smash that like button. We have a fantastic show for you guys. Tons of stuff to cover. Tons of stuff to talk about. But before we jump into today's show, and I'm going to give a little bit of a tease. So we're going to be playing you guys a video that we made in-house at Simply Bitcoin, talking about the modern history of fiat money. And the voiceover is being done by Internet Sophie, who we just announced yesterday. She officially has her own show by popular demand. The name of the show is going to be called Simply Satoshi. It's a pun, I guess. I think it's really smart. And then we have a video by Jack Mallers explaining the housing crisis, right? Because I think you all feel it, especially if you guys are part of the younger generation. And then, of course, Opti is going to come in strong during the culture segment. And I forgot to give away sats yesterday, so we're going to be giving away.
I gave them all away yesterday. Okay, no, I didn't give them all away. I gave them the sats and I gave them the unclaimed sats. So
how much unclaimed sats were there?
It was like 1,100 sats or something.
1,100 sats.
Yeah, they got about a dollar.
So, well, $1 today. When $1 sat
today, generational wealth in a few years.
So we're going to be giving away some sats towards the end of the show during the culture segment, so you guys are going to want to stay tuned in. But before we get into that, I do want to give an extremely special shout out to, of course, our lead sponsor. Simply Bitcoin would not be here today without our partners. So if you guys want to support the show, check out our partners. We're very picky on who we choose to partner with. And our lead sponsor is the best place by far to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack, bitcoinwell.com. To get started, you scan the QR code. It takes you to bitcoinwell.com/simply. You put in your email address. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up. And the reason you want to use bitcoinwell.com/simply is because it'll give you 3 tosses into the wishing well for an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats every toss, right? Also, if you're a higher net worth individual looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, you have to check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. Go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC to get started. It's for family offices. It's for high net worth individuals. It's for trusts. It's for organizations. It's fantastic. So to get started, go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC, schedule a call with the Bitcoin Well Infinite team today. All right, everybody, let's get into the show. We have tons to talk about. We'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on Stampseed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
All right, everybody. Guys, don't write down your seed words on paper. Stamp them into titanium. Use promo code SIMPLY. Go to stampseed.com today. Scan the QR code on your screen or check the link in the video/podcast description. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is at $112,000. I think I said that right. Did I say that right, Opti?
It feels like $112.
Block height 911,962 sats per dollar, 893. Market cap 2.23 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 9.34%. Decline from all-time high. Bitcoin's currently at a discount, negative 10%. You're buying Bitcoin right now, you're getting it at a 10% discount. Realize monetary inflation 0.84% in the grand scheme of things. Bitcoin is taking fiat currencies to absolute school. They just admitted they're not taking the fiat inflation back to 2%. They're moving that number up back to 3%. Bitcoin is taking all fiat currencies to absolute school. Anyways, our boys over here at Simply Bitcoin, the Simply Bitcoin team's coming in hot with
The
these
Zoomers.
The Simply Bitcoin Zoomers are coming in hot, coming up with these custom made
I like calling them commercials, dude. I like calling them Bitcoin commercials.
AI videos. Anyways, I'm going to play it. It goes through the whole history of fiat money. And then, of course, me and Opti are going to talk about it. Let's need to find it. Let's check it out.
There was a time when money meant something. Gold-backed dollars carried stability. Families saved, nations prospered, and trust was earned, not printed. But in 1910, behind closed doors at Jekyll Island, the rules of money began to change. By 1913, the Federal Reserve seized control, a small group with immense power over everyone's wealth. Then came 1933. FDR signed Executive Order 6102. Ordinary Americans were forced to surrender their gold. Owning it was a crime. The link between people and honest money was broken. Towards the tail end of World War II, a deal was struck in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. The US dollar was crowned king of the world, but only so long as it was tethered to gold. That promise shattered in 1971 when President Nixon severed the final tie as he made this statement.
Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets.
Dollars became paper, and paper became power, backed by nothing but trust in governments and central banks. What followed was predictable. Decades of inflation, easy money, debt climbing higher with every generation, booms and busts, bubbles and bailouts. Then came the decades of debt, cheap credit, asset bubbles, and a silent tax called inflation. Until 2008 was the breaking point. A global financial crisis. Banks were rescued while ordinary people paid the price. But out of that chaos came a spark of hope, the Genesis block. It ignited a fire in cyberspace. Satoshi Nakamoto gave the world Bitcoin. Incorruptible, scarce, and free from manipulation. Since then, the printing presses have only roared louder, especially in 2020 when we were faced with a pandemic and trillions were conjured from thin air. Prices soared, trust eroded. The fiat experiment showed its cracks. And today, a choice stands before us. Continue down the path of endless inflation, or step into a future built on sound money once again. Bitcoin is that future. A money by the people, for the people. The fiat century is ending, and the Bitcoin standard is just beginning.
Bars, bro. Yeah, I mean, much more effective than what we do. Oh man, I mean, dude, what a comprehensive. Well, first of all, shout out to the Zoomer team and then Sophie for the voiceover. That was incredible. Kind of like a history of fiat money and all the stuff that was happening in the background. So yeah, I mean, yeah. What do you have to say, Opti?
Yeah, well, obviously, excuse me, choking on my saliva. As like kind of the guy overseeing this from the high level here, because we got the Zoomers that are doing the actual work, and then I have to kind of approve the stuff. My biggest takeaway when I saw this was, me, I'm mainly like a vibes guy, and when I first saw this, like I genuinely got like the hairs to lift on my arm. I'm like, all right, this is ready to go. Like this is the way. And watching this, it really does seem to me that these AI videos and the narratives on Bitcoin, not only are they short and palatable here, and you can send them to your friends and family, and they'll probably watch it because maybe their little monkey brain, the pea brains that we all have now, are more attracted to the AI videos just because it's something new and fresh. But it's really starting to dawn on me just the power of these like AI commercials. I like calling them commercials. These Bitcoin commercials, like they do feel more powerful than what we've seen in the past of Bitcoin propaganda. And I'm super excited to keep doing these. Like we're going to keep doing these for you guys, and I think they're going to get better and better and better every single time. So hopefully, I don't know. I mean, I'm throwing this out here. We'll have like a series of these, and then we can, you can just send them to your friends and family, and they can get the whole Bitcoin message. And to everyone yelling at me in the chat, I will figure out. We'll probably play that in the beginning of the show, so you guys don't just sit here for a little bit with no hype videos. I'm working on it, guys. Give me some time. Give me a little leeway. We have a lot of things that are working in tandem here. Okay, so it's soon. Okay, very soon.
We're gonna have a great surprise for you guys in September. I gotta raise the brightness on this. Oh no, this is too low. There we go. A little bit brighter. We got a surprise for you guys lined up in September. Really excited to reveal it. But I mean, I think that video speaks for itself, ladies and gentlemen. And we still got a lot to cover during today's show. Jack Mallers also made an incredible video covering essentially the housing crisis. Preston Pish was talking about it as well on Natalie Burnell's show, Coin Stories. And then, of course, we did some research here at Simply Bitcoin, just pulling up all the data, some posts by BitPain, and just seeing the disconnect with the median age of a first-time home buyer it's 40 years old. That's the highest it's ever been since 2002. Just to kind of give you guys a perspective. And the people responsible for this are the Federal Reserve. It's central banking. So anyways, guys, we have an incredible show. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones? They don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
All right, everybody, we are back. If you guys are enjoying today's show, make sure to smash that like button. We're at 576 live viewers on YouTube. On Rumble, we're at 12,800 live viewers popping off on Rumble. And on X, we're at 1,500 live viewers on Rumble. Keeps going up. 13,000 live viewers on Rumble. Holy cow. Anyhow, if you guys are enjoying today's show, smash that like button. You're listening to the most watched Bitcoin only show on planet Earth. Simply Bitcoin, live Monday through Friday, 12 what is it? What's our start time?
It's like 12:30.
12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, rain or shine, Monday through Friday, where we cover the best in Bitcoin news. All right, everybody. So let's cover today's news. What are we talking about? The median age of first-time home buyers is now 40 years old. The Simply Bitcoin crew said fiat robbed an entire generation of the American dream. But Jack Mallers actually came out with a fantastic video doing a deeper breakdown into this very subject. And then we have a clip of Preston Pish on Natalie Burnell's podcast, Coin Stories.
Bitcoin is going to demonetize real estate. A house is not supposed to be a savings account. It's not supposed to be what you exchange your effort and labor for. You acquire a house to consume it and live in it. It's not a money. Unfortunately, because the world has been robbed of money, robbed of the market good that they're supposed to save and exchange in, and that market good has been manipulated and debased and controlled, people have had to resort to things like real estate as money. And so real estate is distorted. It's artificially expensive. And so Bitcoin will dematerialize that for all of the money that's in real estate, not to consume it, but rather to save in it. That money will go to Bitcoin over time. And what that will do is it will drive the Bitcoin price up and it will drive the real estate prices down. Guys, when I got into Bitcoin, my dream house was 100,000 Bitcoins. And then some years later, my dream house was 10,000 Bitcoins. And then some years later, my dream house was 1,000. And then some years later, my dream house was 100. And then some years later, my dream house was 10. Now, the average American home you can get for 3-4 coins. So I think within the next decade, you can get a median-sized house in the United States for less than 1 Bitcoin. And so the best way to become a homeowner and a purchaser of land, of real estate, is to stay humble and stack sats.
All right, everybody, there you have Jack Mallers breaking it down. It's as simple as that. You know, again, everything gets more expensive on a fiat standard. Everything gets cheaper on a Bitcoin standard. Here is Preston talking about it on Natalie's podcast.
Equity markets are sky high. Everybody's still feeling pain despite that setup. And they're screaming for rates to be lower and maybe even artificially kept lower so that everybody can refi their house. Right. Like, what do you think the ramifications of that are going to be for the prices of homes long term? They're going to rip. They're going to rip even higher than what you're already, like if we jump 5 years into the future. So all of these things are a manifestation or an example of the currency melting down, in my humble opinion. And so, when people are like, oh my God, how in the world can anybody afford a house? Well, just go like price the house in Bitcoin for like the last 10 years every year. And what you're going to find is the price just keeps going lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
And if somebody's like, what did he just say? Yeah, rewind the tape and listen to what I just said. The prices keep going lower and lower in Bitcoin terms. And it's just going to, in my opinion, it's just going to keep going that way.
So again, very simple, guys. Very simple. You want to know why you can't afford a home? You want to know why everything's getting more expensive? Is because you're using the wrong unit of account. Jack Mallers laid it out beautifully in the beginning with that video that he made, literally making the case as to why things get cheaper. Here's our boy BitPain. I find this hilarious. Dear boomers, we can rent and stack Bitcoin longer than you can remain alive. Either you drop your ask or we'll save our bid for your real estate sale. And I find there is this one response that was hilarious. John Ezig said, stack away. I'm having my home raised upon my death, you entitled clown. By the way, boomers didn't have a say, just as you don't. We've all been played. Just don't play the victim. BitPain, thank you for making my point for me, boomer. By the way, we love boomers here at Simply Bitcoin. Gary Leland, Larry Lepard, they're
the boomers
fantastic.
In the chat.
They're fantastic. So we love, there's so many good Bitcoin boomers. So yeah, it's not monolithic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I think this is the same one. But anyways, so let's go to one of my favorite websites. By the way, I'm going to put it in the chat. You guys should go check it out. I'm going to put it in the Rumble chat and in the YouTube chat so you guys can go check it out. And for the audio listeners, if you want to see it after the show, it's called What the F Happened in 1971. So let's talk about this, right? So what the F happened in 1971? Well, Richard Nixon took the United States off of the gold standard. And to reference the video that we played for you guys in the beginning of the show, the one that the Simply Bitcoin team made with Sophie's voiceover, the promise when gold was made illegal was that it was going to be pegged to a certain amount of gold was going to be pegged to the dollar. That was the deal, right? That was the deal. That was the deal that the American people were sold on. And then that deal, over time, when the government wanted to spend more money it didn't have, they unpegged the dollar. Right? They unpegged the dollar from gold so that allowed the government to print as much money as their heart desires. There's no constraint anymore, right? Now, there are unintended consequences of this. And this is something, by the way, that has been happening throughout human history. You can trace it back. You can make a very good argument that one of the main reasons as to why the Roman Empire fell was because of inflation, currency debasement. You could see that in the beginning of the Roman Republic, you could see the quantity of gold per I think their currency is called the denarii or something like that. But the Roman currency that they were using, the quantity of I don't think it was gold. I think it was silver. The quantity of silver per the Roman coin, and you could see it declining, throughout the centuries. To the point to at the end of the Roman Empire, I think the quantity of silver per coin was like 0.000 something, and it started at like 85%, right? So what did they do? They did the exact same thing. They debased the currency. And there's unintended consequences of that. There are spiritual consequences. I've talked about this at length in many podcasts. There are economic consequences. But of course, here on Simply Bitcoin, we're going to focus on the economic consequences. So, and also cultural consequences as well. So the first one, worker pay has not kept pace with productivity since the 1970s. So again, what the F happened in 1971? So hourly compensation and then net productivity. So this is what we keep telling you about. We keep telling you that productivity continues to increase because of technology. And things should be getting cheaper. As Jeff Booth has said many times, the natural state of the free market is deflationary. But on a fiat standard, it's actually inflationary. And then moving down, real GDP versus real wages, right? So the country and the world is getting wealthier, but the compensation that people are receiving is staying stagnant. Why is that? Real income gains widen, shared in early post-war decades, but not since then, right? So 1970, what happened? And this is what we keep telling you. This is the argument we keep making on Simply Bitcoin. Every time the government prints money, if you're in the lower and middle classes, you probably don't have a lot of means to save in assets, meaning you don't have disposable income to put into savings. So your savings are fiat. Your earnings are in fiat. If you are wealthy, you do have the disposable income to invest in assets. And every time they print money, those assets go up in value in dollar terms. But they're not really going up they're not actually going up in value. What's happening is you're seeing inflation. But your purchasing power, the dollars that you've earned, isn't going up with the value of the goods and services around you. That's why you feel poor. That's why the millennial generation feels poor. That's why the Zoomer generation feels poor. That's why the Alpha generation is going to feel even poorer than the Zoomer generation. It's because of fiat money. So when you hear very popular YouTubers and very politicians talking about the rich, we have to address inequality. You have to remember, have this in the back of your mind. They are the cause of the wealth inequality in the first place. They caused it. When they took money off the gold standard, when in 2008, 2009, no banker went to jail and the quantitative easing experiment started, that was the cause for the wealth inequality today. And politicians made those decisions. So going back to politicians and asking for a solution, that is what's the definition of insanity? Trying the same thing and expecting different results? It's time to try something new. It's time to pick a different color. It's time to pick a different party, right? So instead of voting for the right, instead of voting for the left, I'm not saying voting isn't important. It is important. Vote for pro-Bitcoin candidates. Instead of voting for red team or voting for blue team, how about you vote for the orange team? Because if you've been saving and earning in fiat, if your money has been in Bitcoin, you can live the American dream. And you don't even need to be in America. You could be anywhere around the world. And if you've been saving in Bitcoin, as Jack Mallers pointed out in his video, that dream house that you wanted has actually been getting cheaper for the last 16 years. But if you're looking at the world through the lens of fiat, that dream house that you wanted, it just gets more and more and more and more expensive. A politician isn't going to save you here. You have to take the agency over your own life and make the decision on which money you want to use. And I promise you that if you choose sound money, your life will get better because things all around you will naturally get cheaper because, as Jeff Booth says, that is the natural state of the free market. And because Bitcoin can't be manipulated by politicians, by governments, because it has an absolute scarcity of 21 million, it is the only thing that is able to properly reflect the natural state of the free market, which is deflationary. The world gets richer every decade. But under a fiat standard, only the quintillionaires, only the people that are the closest to the money spigot are the ones that are actually going to benefit from that said system. Under a Bitcoin standard, it doesn't matter whether you have 1,000 Bitcoin or whether you have 0.01 Bitcoin, you are going to benefit equally. You're going to benefit equally as Michael Saylor. If you're a pleb with 1 million sats, you're going to benefit equally. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It democratizes money. It's rulers without ruler. It's rules without rulers. Anyways, that's the end of my rant. I got hyped up, bro. Those videos. Jack Mallers dropping the fire and Preston Pish on Natalie Burnell breaking it down like he always does. Opti, what's your take, brother?
Well, first off, I do want to comment on the Jack Mallers video, and it made me think like the production and the Bitcoin propaganda is getting so good. I like that video. That was like just the overall aesthetics of that video is great. Shouts out to whoever's editing Jack Mallers videos. They're doing a great job. Hey, hit us up. But at this point, man, it's funny because every time you bring up housing, the chat gets super triggered, and there's like a divide. There's probably people that have a house, maybe a little older than us. You know, their mortgage is cheaper than rent, and they're super happy. And I'm happy for them. If I had got some, really, really, really good deals to buy a house, I would be super hyped too. On my side, like I don't even really like to have this conversation anymore. It's like I don't want to buy houses. I want to buy Bitcoin. At this point in my life where I am right now, I am happy with renting. It gives me mobility. It literally, I wouldn't be down here in Miami now if I was like buying a house, because I'd have so many different considerations if I had bought something in Texas or something like that. And yeah, of course I could have bought a house and then rented it, but that's just more complexity than I want right now. Like I just want to own as much Bitcoin as possible. When I'm ready to buy a house, my Bitcoin will have gone up and I'll be able to buy their houses. I'll be able to buy a house. And I really love the BitPain tweet. He's really been doubling down on this. What is it? If you think I'm going to buy your real estate for 10x, you're wrong. You can buy my Bitcoin at 1,000x. I just love the dunks. To me, it's just fun, man, where I'm at. And really, I don't like to get into the conversation of housing because a lot of people kind of fall into, I'm going to say fall into the trap of being like, oh, quit complaining. You can work and, you're young and millennials are lazy.
Put on a bow tie.
Yeah, if you just work harder, if you wore a suit and you look nice, then you could also buy a house. And I'm like, whatever.
Firm handshake. Firm handshake.
Eye contact, all that good, making your bed and cleaning your room and all those good heuristics and things they tell us to live a better life. I don't even like to have this. I'm just like, look, I don't want to buy your house. I don't want to buy a house right now. I'm cool with renting. I'm cool with stacking Bitcoin. And then it really gets into a lot of moral kind of conversations. And then it does have the left and right divide in all of this. And it becomes political. I just side skirt this. Look, I don't want to buy a house. I want Bitcoin. And if you're young and you're, in your mid 30s and you don't have a family or you're younger, you can't make money like the boomers did on real estate. Real estate was the tried and true way to become a millionaire, multi-millionaire, decamillionaire. Now it's an outdated strategy as far as I'm concerned. You really want to come up in life, just do your job and save in Bitcoin. And when you're ready, and you could argue that there might be some kind of housing market correction on the horizon, though I might take the flip side. I think the Feds are going to do whatever they can to prop up the housing market, because they know their constituents, all the people that are voting for them they're on paper really rich because of the real estate. So they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that the housing market doesn't pop, or the housing bubble doesn't pop. So in that case, it's like, all right, cool. Like, keep those prices artificially high. I'm going to stack Bitcoin when I'm ready to buy a house, as Jack Mallers, as we've been explaining on this show, as all the memes explain. Life just gets cheaper on Bitcoin. So, eventually we'll be buying, what was the memes? Eventually we'll be buying houses for 0.21 Bitcoin. And at that point, it's like, all right, thank you for your mansion. Here's 10 million sats. I'm all for that. So in the meantime, we're just playing a different game. It's a new era. And the game has changed. And if you're not adapting to the new game, which is the Bitcoin accumulation game, you can try these old strategies. But I keep referencing this tweet, or I forget, maybe it was advice someone told me, but I read it somewhere. And it's basically the idea, like, if you want to succeed in the 21st century where we are right now, like, you can't be doing the safe bets. The safe bets no longer work. Like, you do have to take a risk. And for a lot of people, buying Bitcoin, going all in, putting all of your net worth behind Bitcoin, or saving in Bitcoin with everything you got, like, the collective view of this is the risky move. From our perspective, this is the safest bet to do. But from what your peers might say to you if you do it, the risky move right now for a lot of people is what we do, is saving everything in Bitcoin and going all in on this. But where we are right now, the safe bets no longer work. And the safest bet for the longest time is just, become a real estate mogul. I've seen so many Instagram reels where they go around and they're like, we got the hack for you to become a millionaire. Like, we talked to 10 different millionaires, and 8 out of the 10 of them became a millionaire because of real estate. And it's like, I'm sure you can make it happen, but there's a lot of overhead. There's a lot of, stuff you have to do to maintain the house. It's just a lot simpler to buy Bitcoin. Rent, buy Bitcoin, live a good life. Like, you live in a decent spot. You don't have to pay, like $10 million for a house. You just rent the house for 5-10 years. And in that time, you'll be able to buy a house for the Bitcoin you have at a less price of Bitcoin. It's like, dude, it literally makes no financial sense to me right now. It's just like, buy Bitcoin, chill. We'll buy their houses at whatever price we want to in the future. So, and then also, that's not even talking about the I forget who posted it. Excuse me, hold on. The market right now is crazy. There is more sellers than buyers by like 500,000 homes right now. Like, everyone wants to get out of their house right now, and there's no one to buy this stuff. Like, look, as BitPain, I'm not going to be the sucker that's buying this stuff right now. Also, I can't buy this house, but hey, it's all good, man. I'll buy Bitcoin, and eventually,
bro, I'm not buying the bags. I'm not buying, bro. Remember that rant that I went on? Like, I went on a rant, like, and Opti's like, Nico, calm down. Because I was like, dude, like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, you guys have to understand, it's inflated. It's not, this isn't the utility value of real estate. Like, I'll put it to you this way. Real estate shouldn't be seen as an investment. It's seen as an investment because the money's broken. And because the money is broken, it forces people that have wealth to find assets that are going to outpace the rate of inflation. That's why real estate has become this form of investment. But on a sound money standard, all of a sudden that gets switched. Because if you're, let's say you're renting properties, that's like a big thing, right? And you want like a 10% cap, a 8% cap, right? So it's like an 8% or 10% rate of return, plus you have to pay the property, like all of the things factor in, right? You buy a rental property or an Airbnb property. Is that going to beat 30% annual CAGR of Bitcoin for the next 20 years, which is what Michael Saylor is anticipating? No. Without the headache of dealing with tenants, without the headache of dealing with taxes, without the headache of dealing with maintenance, you just buy Bitcoin, put it in self-custody, forget about it. And then what's going to happen? All of a sudden, people aren't going to see real estate as an investment anymore. If they don't see Bitcoin, real estate as an investment anymore, what happens to the price of real estate? It goes down, right? It's artificially inflated because of broken money. And that's the message. Anyways, everybody, let's get to the culture. We have tons to talk about. We're going to be right back in just a bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, bitcoinben.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, Nico. Before we move on, I gotta acknowledge, dude. Every time we talk about renting versus buying a house or housing markets and stuff, everyone freaks out on both sides. It's honestly amazing.
Oh, really? I haven't been paying attention.
Yeah,
to the
dude. Every time we bring it up, it's like that. It's interesting that this is the most like divisive conversation.
Okay, I'm gonna set up a poll. What should the question be?
Should you rent or buy a home?
Should you rent?
Like, it's honestly hilarious. That's not what we're covering today on the culture. I do have some articles here, but I just find it hilarious. Every time we brought this up, it's like we step into a landmine, and there's very strong opinions on every side of the aisle, and it cracks me up. Anyways, I just looking at the chat.
Wait. I effed up that poll. I said, should you rent or buy a home? And I put yes or no.
Wow, boomer confirmed. Boomer confirmed. Okay.
All right, go for it.
Just delete it and do it again. Yeah. Anyway, interesting social commentary there. That every time we talk about this, it's like. Doesn't matter. Like we've talked about so many different things, and at times we think we'd get in hot water and stuff. But every time you bring up renting or buying a house, everyone freaks out. It's so funny to me. Okay. Anyways.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the renting is up 67%, 18 votes. 20 votes, 62, 26, 30 votes, 60 to 40, 60 to 40, 35 votes.
Okay.
60,
All
40,
right.
60,
We'll
40,
come back to this.
42 votes, 62, 38, 62, 38.
Because I do have some interesting stuff here coming out of the Fiat Times, aka the Financial Times. So I mentioned this yesterday. It looks like the Financial Times is picking up on something we've said for a while, which is starting to make me change my position on it. Anytime I agree with the Financial Times, I got to reevaluate. And here we go. First and foremost, this one was 2 days ago, and I wouldn't have brought this up if they didn't drop another article today in a very similar vein, which really kind of leads into this idea that I've been saying on the show, that it does seem like Wall Street or these institutions, these, the trustworthy people, the experts are really freaking out about Bitcoin Treasury companies. And there's been a lot of calls that the Bitcoin Treasury companies are the Ponzi. Even Nico said, and we said on the show, you know, it does seem like the Bitcoin Treasury companies are like the new ICO craze. Now, is that the case? Who knows exactly? I think a lot of these companies will be okay. As we've been saying, some of the smaller ones might be a little more of a risk here. But the fact that Financial Times is starting to pick up on this and they're constantly dropping these articles, it's making me believe that there is a lot more going on with these Bitcoin treasury companies than would probably meet the eye. And I think Saylor's the best example of this with all his different products. Yes, he's getting a lot of hate. There's been a lot of speculations around what Saylor's doing, whether it's good or not. And it's interesting that every time Saylor announces a new buy for strategy, it seems like the stock dumps, which would make you believe there's someone out there that does not want to see strategy be successful, because it does kind of expose the whole sham here. If all you have to do is buy Bitcoin and outperform everything else, what exactly are all these, 493 zombie companies doing in the S&P 500? Like, what are they doing? Why are they even there? If 7 companies are basically the ones leading and continuing to push up the S&P 500 and make the world prosperous, like, it sounds like that's the real Ponzi scheme here. Anyways, the title here from the Financial Times, and this dropped 2 days ago, I believe, August 25th. Yeah, Monday. And again, I wouldn't have brought this up, but we got another one today, and they're saying the same thing. So the headline is why Bitcoin treasury companies are a fool's paradise. In a crypto winter, the consequences could be painful for investors. Strategy is like what? The best performing stock, maybe even better than NVIDIA. Those are the 2 best performing stocks right now, and they're fighting it. But the interesting thing is how they start this article. They do that academic intelligentsia kind of article where they start with a totally different story and then they get into it to kind of make parallels. And of course, this one, they start with Charles Ponzi, basically saying that the Bitcoin treasury companies are a Ponzi scheme. I'm not even going to read this article, but you can see here, it goes, depending on whether you're a signed up crypto bro or not, Bitcoin is either a brilliant innovation to move the world away from corruptible fiat currencies or a vast confidence trick. Again, who are the readers of Financial Times, the Fiat Times? It is people that aren't necessarily Bitcoiners. And this is why we call them the Fiat Times, is because they do have this, bent against Bitcoin. They are fiat maxis. So if you got to remember where you're getting your information from. And if you're getting it from the Financial Times, then they are hell-bent on making you not want to buy Bitcoin or have Bitcoin exposure in your 401ks. Now, again, I wouldn't have brought this up today, but they followed it up with another article, strategy sagging Bitcoin strategy. And they dropped this right before we went live 4 hours ago. And, of course, they got to acknowledge the elephant in the room, that strategy is outperforming everything else. And all he's doing is buying Bitcoin and then creating new products to tap into new capital markets. And there seems to be incredible demand for this, even though the stock is kind of being pummeled right now. But you can see that what they say here, it feels like the magic is fading. And so we, have been following this along on the show for a while. While we're not the biggest fan of Bitcoin treasury companies per se, like we're not against them, we believe that you should be buying Bitcoin. If these companies are doing so well, you should probably just follow those strategies for yourself. Now, of course, there's caveats. If you have a traditional, portfolio here and it's hard for you to get your money out because of penalties or whatever, variable that might make you be hesitant. Obviously, a Bitcoin treasury strategy, I think, is probably a good move for a lot of people. But it is interesting to see that the Fiat Times is going so hard against these Bitcoin treasury companies. And now part of it, they could just be picking up on sentiment or that Bitcoiners have been talking about. We've been saying it on the show. It does seem kind of bubblish. It does seem like, something might eventually happen. But the more they pile on this idea, the more I just want to counter trade this and be a contrarian and be like, no, like the Bitcoin, if they're this afraid of Bitcoin treasury companies, of people adding Bitcoin to their treasuries. Now, it doesn't mean they have to do the ATM, strategy playbook, but the more they start to hate on Bitcoin treasury companies, the more just like the contrarian Bitcoiner in me is just believing like these are probably good things. If the Fiat Times doesn't like it, then this is a good thing. They've been making obituaries around Bitcoin forever. And now they're doing it on Bitcoin Treasury Companies. So maybe this is some hopium for you guys that are holding Bitcoin treasuries. Obviously, I don't. I don't even hold Bitcoin. Boating accidents and all.
What is Bitcoin? What is this Bitcoin?
Yeah, what is it? We just talked about it. But it's starting to feel like these treasury companies are going to go higher a lot longer than anyone wants to believe. And that's just, my gut feeling here. So they are attacking Bitcoin Treasury Company, specifically Michael Saylor, because he is, and cherry picking daddy here and stuff. Like, bro, Saylor's eating their lunch. And the real takeaway from this is they do not want this strategy, or rather this signal, to spread. Remember when we were covering the El Salvador Bitcoin announcement, we all wondered, why did not other countries follow suit? Now we're seeing other countries other corporations follow strategy, and we're seeing hit pieces on it. What's the meme, Nico? You get the most flack once you're over the target. This is the vibe that I'm starting to feel from the corporate press out here in regards to Bitcoin treasury strategies, Bitcoin accumulation. So, a lot of this bearish takes on Bitcoin just at large, it's starting to make me feel extremely bullish. Like, we are going way higher. We're going higher, and they're going to freak out more, and it's going to be glorious.
I hope so, man. We've been saying we're going higher. What's that song? That song,
Creed?
bro. Yeah. How does it go?
I don't know. I don't sing. Ask Soph.
Yeah, we have to ask Sophie. Anyways, the point is, we've been saying that we're going to go higher for the last year or so. I'll believe it when I see it, bro. I think Bitcoin's a stable coin now.
Dude, Nico, you can just not help yourself and be a bear.
I think they should just call They should change Bitcoin's name to Bitstable. Bitstable.
Wait, what? Oh, Bitstable.
Instead of Bitcoin, just Bitstable.
Wait. Do I have something here? Hold on.
Bitstable.
Do I have it? I don't think I have it.
Bitstable.
Here we go. There we go. Can you take me higher? Everyone says it.
Can you take me higher?
Yeah, in verse corporate press, this is the way.
So, anyways, we're at that time of the show, ladies and gentlemen, where we are going to give away some sats. Actually, our friends over at Bitcoin Well are going to give away some sats. We're going to toss a coin into the wishing well. Bam, bing, bam, boom. Toss a coin. We are tossing a coin, ladies and gentlemen. Ding. And get your Lightning wallets ready. First person to scan the QR code has won 526 sats today. If you use bitcoinwell.com/simply, that URL, it's in the video/podcast description, you will get 3 tosses into the wishing well. Every toss, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Hit 14,000 live viewers on Rumble. I think that's a record. Strong coming in on YouTube, 620 I think we peaked at. And of course, X always coming in strong with 2,000 live viewers. If you guys enjoyed today's show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. And we will see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.